This conference will now be recorded.
So, Mayor Woodbury?
Yes.
So it's actually me that calls it to order, because it's a staff-led public information meeting.
Then what I will do is I will
welcome everyone and hand it over to the clerk.
Thank you. So as Mayor Woodbury said, it is 7, so I will formally call the meeting to order. I'm the clerk, Lindsay Green. I'm just going to do a roll call just so I know which members of council are on the line. So Mayor Woodbury, I see you. I see a lot of you.
You see a lot
Mayor,
of me or
Deputy Mayor Milne.
Yeah, I'm here.
Councillor Dobreen.
Yes, ma'am.
Councillor Rice.
Yep, still here.
Councillor Frew. Okay, Councillor Shearson. And Councillor Shipston. Okay, so I know who's on the line. So this is a public information meeting for the community improvement plan, the draft one as it stands. And our planner, Clinton Stredwick, will be presenting his presentation. So I'll hand it over to you, Clint, and then we will ask for comments and questions from the public following his presentation.
Thank you, Lindsay. We had a presentation way back in November of last year. It seems like eons ago now. But this is sort of a refresher of the community improvement plan, and given recent circumstances, I feel there's some room for improvement on it, and hopefully we can get it implemented shortly then to start building and helping out the community. So if I could get the first slide shown after that one. I don't have control of the...
Yeah, it might just be a little bit delayed, Clint, but it's coming.
Okay, so the first one, what is a community improvement plan? So a community improvement plan is a tool where municipal planners and economic development officers can work to develop policies and provide incentives targeting specific types of growth and investment. The Township of Southgate has identified a need for this sort of plan, and our proposal is to designate actually the entire Township of Southgate so that we don't limit it specifically to aiding only one particular community. It's for the entire township. Next slide. Okay. So the purpose of it, as we said, is to revitalize and improve and refer to activities that contribute to the economic development, beautification, quality of life, aesthetic improvements, and the creation of a sense of place. And I would also say health and safety improvements as well. And we'll get into that a little bit. So as an example, redevelopment of underutilized properties, development of existing properties, improvements and beautification of buildings, improvements of buildings to enhance accessibility for persons with disability, and last, improve community infrastructure, open spaces, and pedestrian networks. So next slide. So continuing on then, the purpose of the CIP is conversion of upper story space for residential uses, adaptive reuse, and restoration of historic properties and structures. That's not to say that the municipality is going to go and do that for you. That's to say that we're going to put up some funds as a carrot, if you will, for the developer or landowner to carry out that investment in their own property. So that's an important distinction. Remediation and redevelopment of reuse of environmentally contaminated properties. So they're called brownfield developments. Providing opportunities for affordable and attainable housing. That's certainly an issue as housing prices increase. And if we want conversions of upper stories or things like that, we can help provide monies to get people to invest in that. And promotion of economic development and business growth. So the CIP, next slide, it enables the municipality to issue financial incentives to private property owners interested in undertaking improvements to their building property or to development or redevelop their land. So under normal circumstances, a municipality can't just go and say, you look like you need some money to do some upgrades and give you $10,000. That's illegal to do that. So without a community improvement plan and it being specifically recognized as such in an official plan, municipalities do not have that ability to do that. The programs are intended to facilitate the community enhancing property and building improvement projects. Programs will only be available with when council assigns funding to that program, and there is some funding currently available. I don't believe it's super significant. It's not like millions of dollars or anything, but it's certainly in the $10,000 or $20,000. But again, that's for the entire township. So financial incentives would include. Did we go to the next slide? Next slide, please.
Mine's lagging pretty bad, Clint, so Alicia's going to try to present.
Okay, financial incentives, there we go. Awesome. So tax increments, equivalent grants. So that's essentially what that is foregoing the taxes early on to then add them on once the improvements have been made for the amount that it's going to increase the value of that property. Whoa, we changed already. Oh, there we go. Building and land improvement grant, facade, building and signage improvement grant. That's pretty self-explanatory. Property, landscaping and parking area improvement grants, accessibility improvements. That's another big one. And here's one that isn't necessarily in the plan right now, but I think council or the community may be interested in this one, and that would be a public health and safety improvements related to a declared emergency. And in that case, it's if you've needed some help with respect to improvements because of COVID or what have you, or some other, it doesn't have to be COVID, it could be something else where you have been required to make changes, you may be able to get relief through an incentive program such as this. And that's a suggestion. It's not specifically written in there. That's what one of the suggestions I'm going to make before we bring it to council in a few weeks. Next slide. Destination infrastructure grant. So more financial incentives, planning and building permit fee grants to reduce those, a development charge grant to provide some relief from, you don't actually get relief from the grants or from the DC charges, but we can sort of subsidize those costs. A housing rehabilitation and conversion grant, that would be converting it to either a second unit above or to a multi-residential of some sort. and startup space leasehold improvement grant. So if you're starting a new business and you're taking over a building and you need to start it out, maybe the township would be able to help out. Next slide. So this is the Brownfield incentives in surplus land and buildings. So the types of grants for that would be environmental study grants, property tax assistance, and surplus lands and buildings grants. So all possibilities. Next slide. So official plan amendment is required for this. So it will allow the township to pass a bylaw designating the entire township as part of the community improvement area. The official plan will also allow the township to adopt the community improvement plan. So it's a very simple change to the OP that allows the municipality to have a community improvement plan in the first place, and then to pass a bylaw designating areas of the township for that plan. Next slide. So we're just about at the end then. So the next steps then is the community improvement plan is updated based on any comments I receive either today or over the next few weeks. And following that, council will adopt the official plan amendments at the October 21st, 2020 meeting of council. And that will be following a formal public meeting during the council meeting for it to hear any additional comments. So we won't have to have a special meeting, but we'll have it as part of council going forward, just to cover our bases in that regard. Following that, the CIP and local official plan amendment get forwarded onto the county for approval because they are the approval agency. Once it's approved by the county, we pass a bylaw under Section 28 of the Planning Act to declare the entire township a community improvement area. As I said, the official plan is what gives us the ability to do that. So that's why we have to wait on the county in that regard. And then a bylaw is passed adopting the community improvement plan as it is, and selecting and budgeting for incentive programs. Then it becomes between either a committee of council or all of council and the economic development officer, I think would be an excellent person to take it on from there. And then making those incentive programs available and advertising them to folks that may need them. So those are the next steps. So that's the end of that presentation. So I guess we'll open it up to comments and questions or thoughts.
Yeah. Thank you, Clinton. So the next item on the agenda is open forum and discussion. So what I'll do before I open it up to there's a number of people on the line, which is great, but I have received, I believe, 3 comments. So I think I'll read those first for the record. 4 comments, actually. So the first one,
Lindsay.
I believe she might be on the line, but it was received from Carol Henderson, and I'd like to apologize to her. She might have meant for me to read it at this afternoon's public planning meeting, and I misinterpreted that. So I'm going to read it right now. It's maybe not totally to do with the CIP, but just since she submitted it, I'd like to read it, and we can accept it. And help integrate newcomers to the town, and to help prevent the possible divides such as new versus old, city versus town, immigrant versus Canadian. So that was her comment. Dave, I'm not sure if you wanted to add to that. We didn't, to my knowledge, pass anything to do with that, but
I think I'd like to reserve comment on that until we really put a strategy in place to, I think there's some issues there that I don't believe are part of a CIP. So I think we address some of those offline. Your audio at times, Lindsay's just going in and out a bit. You may want to link up by phone as well, just in case. And maybe you can send me Carol's comments and I could reply to her. Because I know there was some a bit of trouble in town related to youth in the park, and there's some accusations that was maybe people in the new subdivision. And I was very quick to respond, and it was not. It was all individuals in the original part of town that are kind of known to the school as a bit of a problem. But anyway, that's being addressed through the police. I think we best get back onto the subject of CIP. Maybe while Lindsay's just hooking back up again, Clint, could you respond to, I think there should be some clarity around, like relief from development charges. Well, a builder can't just come and say, I'd like relief from development charges. Council would have to identify some projects, maybe from the community action plan or other plans that we have, to really put the impetus towards maybe giving relief from some of these things. Is that not correct?
Yeah, it's going to be, and it will be on an application basis. So they have to sell it as to, because there is going to only be a limited amount of funds. So they have to sell it to whoever the evaluation committee or council is going to be, if it's going to be all of council or just a select few, to evaluate these applications and say, yes, that project deserves a helping hand, because they will all be different and they will all have pros and cons to them. So a DC charge, it's pretty much yes, you have to pay it. That's sort of the way it goes. To ask for a relief from it just for the sake of having, I don't want to call it free money, but money available just because it's there, I don't think that's enough of a test in terms of an application to be granted that money. You have to demonstrate need for it.
Where you might assess an application such as a affordable housing project that was going to have a base rent that was affordable, and that might be something that would be a fit for DC relief.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So is there any other questions? I'll maybe take over for Lindsay. I don't see her back in yet. Is there any other questions from anyone on the call?
I had a question, Dave.
Yes, go ahead, Brian.
Any idea what kind of a budgetary impact this might have annually?
Well, right now we have been allotted, I want to say the number's $10,000 a year or $20,000 from the county, if I'm not mistaken, for this specific use. So anything above and beyond that would come out of township funds. So
And that
money they had set aside for that purpose.
And that county money is accumulative, right? So if we don't use 10,000, say this year, we banked the 10,000 and we have 20 available next year.
That's my understanding.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And something we could do, and I know this will warm the cockles of your heart, Brian, but we could use the foundation Grey Bruce, set up a foundation to supplement and maybe match money from there. So that's a possibility.
My heart cockles are warmed.
I knew they would be, but I mean, those are the things that we could do through that group. And there may be somebody that wants to donate to those kind of activities, and we could do a one-for-one match with that, or those kind of programs. But the county is at least some seed money to get started. Any other questions?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, please take over, Lindsay.
Sorry about that. My phone wasn't working either. So anyway, so I read the one comment from Carol Henderson. I missed the following comments from that. I don't know if you spoke, Dave, but that was covered.
Clint has answered a couple questions, one from Brian and one that I just interjected to get things started.
Okay. So my next one that I received was from Leah Gorman. I feel that creating a draw to the downtown core through arts and culture would greatly benefit our village and township as a whole. In the past, there was an active group that gave opportunities to people of all ages to participate in and attend musicals and plays. Of course, this was brought to an end with the closing of the town hall. Now, with Dundalk growing substantially, there is more of a need for opportunities such as these, as well as many others, which Team Town Hall has addressed in detail through the youth plan, which has already been submitted to council. Supporting local businesses in the storefronts could be done by bringing people to the downtown by offering an arts and culture hub to the core of our village at the town hall. This would naturally increase foot traffic to these businesses. I would like to challenge council to demonstrate leadership in their revitalization plan to lead by example in revitalizing the building owned by the township, the Dundalk Old Town Hall. So that was Leah Gorman. So my next comment was received from a Katie Gorman. Dear council, as a teenager living in this community, I find that there is a lack of activities and accommodations for the youth and teens. Council is continually asking for input and feedback from the youth, but choose to ignore said feedback. 150 signatures from high school students showing interest in the revitalization of the town hall was cast aside by the township with the comment, kids will sign anything. I, speaking on behalf of the other 149 students, would like to say that these types of comments are discouraging us from participating in vocalizing our opinions when we are continually ignored and our opinions are treated as unimportant. It's our future and we want a say in what happens. The downtown is the heart of Dundalk. By opening a space for events downtown, it will be drawing our new residents into the heart. This past summer, the ice cream truck was very popular. People living in the new subdivision were venturing past the Foodland and right by local businesses that I'm sure they were not familiar with. Bringing more activities into the downtown will help local businesses, but also make the new residents feel a connection to Dundalk. I hope my opinion is heard because it's my future being affected too. So those were just received earlier this evening. And my last one is from Councillor Shipton. He was unable to attend, but I think I'll wait and open it up to other public comments and then read his when council has some comments. So what I'm going to do now is unmute all the callers that have called in from the public. And I'll just caution everybody, if you're not speaking, to please mute your cell phone or whatever device you are calling in on yourself, just so we can cut down on the background noise. But if you can just state your name and if you'd like to speak, you can go ahead. I'm just finishing unmuting everybody.
Really good. So we might as well just go in any place is great.
So does anyone have any comments?
Lindsay, can you hear me?
Hello? Yep.
This is Nathan McMahon, and I just had a couple questions. So I just was wondering, who is our economic developer right now? Because
so right now,
Quentin had said.
So right now our economic development is being covered by our CAO, Dave Milner.
Okay, So Quentin had said that it would be a good opportunity for the economic developer to be involved. With Dave's position in council, would we be looking at a new economic developer to be involved in this, or would Dave take on another hat in this as well?
Dave, you're muted.
So you're putting me in a bit of a place here, but I'm going to put a bit of pressure on council as I am recommending we replace the vacant economic development position. During COVID, it has just been absolutely crazy, the amount of interest we've got. I could likely sell twice as much land as what we have had available in the last 2 years. But it's very evident with the activity going on because of residential growth. There's an increase in commercial and industrial interest in our community, and especially in the urban area. So we'll be having those kind of discussions during the budget and seeing if we can't reinstate that. But definitely a thing we'll be looking at budget time.
Coming from a commercial owner in Dundalk, I feel that position is really strongly needing to be filled. And my next question is, in the draft, the CIP draft, in section 2.1.4, it talks that the CIP will allow municipalities to repair and rehabilitate buildings that they own. Does the municipality have any plans as of now for buildings they'd like to put the CIP towards?
You want to handle that, Clint, or do you want me to?
I can handle it. As of right now, the short answer is no, because we have first step is to get the CIP approved, and then we would look at stuff like that. But I think the primary thinking behind this kind of plan is to generate investment from other individuals rather than taxpayers' dollars going back into the community. It's more important to get additional investment, and this helping that additional investment as a carrot or as a reward for doing that.
Okay, so also in the CIP, it says that Township will be taking the lead, the municipality will be taking the lead in this CIP. So I feel that even the use plan that Team Town Hall that was talked about, that maybe staff and council should relook into that, and who knows, that might be the building to bring investment in, because the CIP, it starts with you guys.
Okay.
That's my last statement that I want to end on.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. Does any other member of the public have anything to add?
I was listening, and there was lots of information, important information that was gathered that will relate to us. They're basically trying to do what we are doing right now. That's what they're trying to form. So we need to step out like today. I'm not even going to wait.
I'm not sure that person is asking a question. Does any other member of the public have a question?
Are we okay to talk now?
Yeah, go ahead. What was your name?
Rosemary Humphreys.
Okay,
and
go ahead, Rosemary.
I have a store on Proton Street North. And
okay.
what I was wondering is there anything in the bylaw that would assist store or building owners to dress up the front of their buildings so that it doesn't look so bare and decrepit when people are driving down the street, like window graphics or whatever, halfway up the window type things like that, so that, you know, it sort of looks better. You don't see vacant windows, storefronts, whatever.
So the short answer to that is yes. There is a facade improvement portion to that where it helps business owners and building owners improve their properties for the betterment of the entire area. So that the short answer is yes on that. That would be part of the plan.
Okay, I have a couple more if I'm allowed.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was there any plan to make Main Street more attractive now that you've got the better looking sidewalks and roadways, and to allow, say, like the restaurant who has a eating area now, which is out in the back alleyway where the garbage cans go, were they not able to put something out front of their building, like pop-up fencing where they could allow for pedestrians to travel by and also allow for tables and whatever to be set up outside instead of out back?
I think in that particular instance, it's a question of space. The second thing is they never actually approached the township in that regard. They applied for a building permit to do the work out back. They didn't approach us about relief for doing anything in the front. That being said, that's certainly something that the town could look at doing in terms of providing incentives for these, I guess, storefront cafes kind of thing. However, just as a caution, that's not the township isn't going to be the one going and picking out these properties to do that. This is going to be driven by investment from the owners themselves. So they're going to step up and say, I want to fix up my building. Township, how can you help me? And the answer is we have this fund that we can potentially help you with the cost of that.
Mm-hmm. So that's the carrot to entice people to improve their buildings. But what is there? What's in place if you get somebody applying to get money to do some upgrade or whatever in the application that they submit? Is there a time frame that they have to have the work done by, or that it's to be started by and finished by, other than, you give them the money and then nothing happens after maybe 2 or 3 weeks?
Well, no, there's definitely a timeline, and in some instances it would be a matter of reimbursing. It wouldn't be a full here's the money and now go run with it. It's an incentive, but they really have to put in some of the effort first. So. Okay.
Yeah, so I was around to a few small areas. Like I haven't been up here very long, for going on 5 years, and going around to say Creemore and different places like that. They allowed the street eat to happen, and they have little tables outside. And the stores that are open, they start to get business. Like you sit down, you have lunch, and then you go around and shop at the stores that are open, maybe go back to the restaurant again or another restaurant and have a coffee or whatever. So it does bring some foot traffic. But if people are driving through town and they see empty stores, and then on the corner here, they see 3 empty stores in a row, there's no enticement for them to stop.
Maybe I'll comment, Rosemary. I'm glad you're on the call, and you brought up some points that are exactly what the community improvement plan is pretty much tailor-made to fit. It, talking about facade improvement, we've been putting money away each year for facade improvement, and no one has really come forward to take advantage of that. And this is going to entrench that program even more, that there'll be a program to apply and get it evaluated by a third-party group. But what we really need to do is engage people like you in the downtown business section and others to reinstate a chamber of commerce and you tell us what you want downtown to look like, and we need to work towards those kind of goals, making it more accessible or whatever. And, you know, the facade improvement and making sure there's consistency like they have in some towns, like you mentioned, like Creemore.
Okay, who am I speaking to? Thank you.
Sorry, it's Dave Milner.
Oh, Dave. Okay, thanks.
Hi.
Okay, that answers all my questions so far.
Thank you, Rosemary. Does anyone else have a question or comment?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, great.
What was your name? Sorry, just for the record.
I am calling from.
Can you just state your name for the record, please? Okay. Is there anyone else on the line that has a question or a comment?
Hello?
Yeah. Are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, what's your name?
Wazini Ahmed.
Okay, go ahead.
So what I wanted to know, is there somebody else that we could talk to outside of this meeting with regards to some of the questions that were being asked about the improvement of the building and the rental and stuff like that? Because some of the information that was being passed through tonight, like youth involvement and nothing for the youth to do, art and culture. We are a new non-for-profit that is in downtown Dundalk. We have rented a space here, but because of improvements, problems, and electrical problem, we were not able to get into the building as yet. And a lot of the programs that I've heard being referred to tonight, we have a hub that will engage youth with all those programs and bring more facilities to the Dundalk area, and which is a very diversified program. But is there anyone that I could talk to outside of this meeting after tonight, and also to deal with some of the CIP programs that were being offered?
Yes, absolutely. So I would advise you send an email to our planner, Clinton Stredwick. He is on the meeting tonight, but
what's the email address?
So it's C Stredwick.
How do you spell that?
Yep, STREDWICK at southgate.ca.
So it's C Stredwick at southgate.ca.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Did you have any other questions or comments?
No, I would put all my questions together and all my comments and stuff, and I will send it there. But my comment is that I am really happy that we're looking towards improving downtown Dundalk and also to include some programs. It's the Junction Community Initiative, and we have girls programs, boys program, art and culture, diversity. We have rented 10 Proton Street North. Yeah, not to be confused with the Junction Restaurant. We are a federal non-for-profit incorporated non-for-profit, and we have moved up here. We were waiting to get that building set up and to get funding from different grantors, but the building was closed down because there was electrical problem, and we're trying to find somewhere else in the Dundalk area because of the new development and the diversity and the amount of people that have moved up here, and the population has increased. And we know that we could have offered so many different programs and facilitate necessary things that are needed here. So yeah, that's my comment.
Okay.
I can, sorry,
Can I,
it's
Lindsay, can
Rosemary.
I leave?
Sorry.
Hello,
Go
hello.
ahead, Dave.
Can I leave you with my number too? It's Dave Milner. I'd like to
Yeah.
talk to you about your programming stuff
Good.
and connect you with another gentleman called, his name is Ethan Henry, and he's part of our
Okay.
youth group.
What's the number?
519-375-0122. Because you've said a lot of exciting 0122.
Okay.
So between Clint and I, we'll look after those things, but that's a lot for Clint to deal with. I want to help out there and make sure you're talking to Ethan.
And what's your name again, Ethan?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll put
Do
you
you
in
want me
contact
to
with
give you
Ethan.
my number?
So you
Okay.
just take his number for now. That was Dave Milner, our CAO.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone else from the public have any comments or questions to add?
Hi, Lindsay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's you, Brian?
Yeah, it's Brian Teixeira. I have a comment and a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
First of all, the question or my comment is, first of all, I would encourage council to seriously consider the economic development position as a permanent full-time position. I can speak with some experience here that it's a very important position in any community, particularly when you have a community improvement plan. These people are also your conduits to collaboration with your neighbors. And I know of at least one municipality to your west that would be more than happy to work with Southgate on projects. My question is, have you given any consideration to prioritizing any specific piece of property or land within Southgate for development? And will this be part of your community improvement plan?
I would say that the answer is yes and no. Certainly, we're looking at specific areas for development. We're actually working through a growth study now for Dundalk specifically. As far as the CIP is concerned, however, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're looking at actually designating the entire township as a CIP area so as not to limit those funds to only a particular area of the township. So from that respect, I guess, no, it's not in the CIP, but that doesn't mean the monies that the CIP unlocks couldn't be used for something in a specific area.
Okay, thanks, Quint.
Maybe just to respond to that a bit too, I think the purpose of our community action or community improvement plan will to be give businesses a hand up instead of a handout so they can make improvements to kind of recover from whatever downturn in the economy like we're into now, expansion of their business. And there's many ways to do that, you know, with land and so on. We are working with Southeast Grey Community Health Center to use Southgate lands and Grey County lands to create a medical center. I wouldn't call that a community improvement as much as it's a service that has been identified in our community action plan. You know, we also have vacant lands for industrial and commercial development, and I don't see those as being part of CIP either, because those should be able to support new business, self-sustaining investment without getting into the community improvement plan. Where I think the community improvement plan really is to really help and stimulate existing business or improve accessibility to draw more business. That's kind of been our goal and look at this whole thing, to create a facelift of what is going on in our downtown business especially.
All right, fair enough, thanks.
Yep.
Did you have anything else, Brian?
No, Lindsay, that's good. Thanks. I just glad to be able to listen and learn. As you know, we're going down the same road, so we're going to be doing a plan
Yep.
or a meeting shortly anyway.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Does anyone else from the members of the public have something to add? I'm not hearing any, so maybe I'll. Oh, hi there.
Hi, this is Samantha.
Can you just state your name for the record, please?
This is Samantha Perrant.
Okay, go ahead, Samantha.
Hi, hi everybody. I just want to echo a lot of things that have been said tonight. I really agree that council needs to prioritize the hiring of an economic development officer. I really feel that there needs to be a clear focus and strategy put in place for supporting our local tourism and making Dundalk and Southgate a destination for people to come, and especially giving the downtown businesses a boost by driving foot traffic here. And I really support the beautification of downtown Dundalk and downtown Holstein if needed. But I also think that the beautification isn't enough. We really need an EDO driving tourism and businesses to our area so that there's foot traffic that's checking out the businesses that looks better. So I think that that's huge. There's a couple of things I had a question about. In the SIP, it says that Township is taking the lead. What exactly does that mean to you guys? Like, I guess, Dave and the planner, like what, with that wording, what does that mean? Because I keep hearing that you guys are like looking at matching what the businesses are doing, and that businesses really need to step out with their finances as well, which makes sense to me. But I'm just curious what the Township taking the lead means.
Do you want me to go first there, Dave?
You tell me. You go ahead and I'll finish.
Okay. So in my opinion, the township are taking the lead in a number of ways. First, we're creating the CIP and providing the monies, and it may not just be these monies. It could be other money set aside by council in the budgetary process. Furthermore, when we after this is all done, there has to be some outreach to the community and businesses to let them know that this is available to them for that investment. So that would be on the onus of the township to say, hey, look, we have these programs for you. If you wish to invest, here's how we can help you with that. And then thirdly is with attracting new businesses, the township certainly is one of the first points of contact with new and interested parties to come into the township. And with that,
how do they have to put money in themselves? There's a difference between the money they're going to put in and what you guys want from town hall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll probably have a budget of $30,000 for the municipality going and everything.
Someone's talking over me here.
Yeah. Sorry, can you just, if you're not speaking, can you make sure that you're muted?
Okay. I think it's caller 17, whoever that is.
Yes, you're right.
So, and as I was saying, thirdly, when the municipality is attracting new businesses and dealing with interested people coming to the community, we let them know about these opportunities to help maybe seal the deal that this is a place where the township is able to help them out and where they want to locate. So I think those are certainly some things that the township can do to help facilitate improvements to the whole township.
Okay, great. That's good to know. I was just looking for clarity, and that makes sense. The administrative role, and then by the sounds of it, the latter part of that would be probably the EDO's role.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Well, yeah, I definitely agree with the hiring of an EDO for all the council members hearing my voice right now. Also,
I'm going to make, can I just finish off that answer? Because it's great to hire an EDO. Because I've been doing the role. During COVID, I went around with a mask on, door to door, downtown businesses. And this is a bit of a scolding because we put a lot of effort into it. Other staff helped me out with some of that, putting together these packages. We delivered about 40 to commercial businesses in Dundalk and across the township. And sad to say, there was a survey in there and we got one back. So, you know, for what we are saying is it's definitely going to take leadership, but, you know, we can't do dental surgery. We need participation. And I think, you know, we've had many iterations over the years. 2 different EDOs had tried to get a chamber going. And I mean, some of that had its own problems, but we need, that said, I think we are right for restarting a chamber right now because people like, you know, Rosemary Humphrey and that, I think they're, you know, they're really getting engaged in downtown, but we need, you know, we need feedback too, to really do some of these improvements. And, you know, an EDO would sure be helpful to really keep that whole thing going. And we want to listen. We just need the feedback. That's my gut.
Samantha, did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, sorry, somebody's just really staticky, so I wasn't sure if I could even jump on. So yeah, that makes sense, Dave. And I think that there's such a unique challenge for government and all organizations to actually hear from people, because I'm finding that, you know, the ways that used to work to hear back from the public are not as effective, and the way that people respond is different. We found that within our own organization here in town, like Team Town Hall, if we shoot emails, which is the professional way of communicating, it's hard to get responses. But when you either build relationships where you're just having conversations with people or utilizing social media well, I find that the reach is a lot larger. So it's definitely a challenge, and also something that's just exciting, because if you can get social media really working for you, the reach can be a lot larger and a lot more effective. But on the note of the chamber, I'm currently actually the chamber contact, and it's certainly sleeping, as we call it. But I guess my question for you guys at Township is, like, what's the benefit of a chamber versus a downtown revitalization society versus like a group struck by council to work towards revitalization? Like, is the chamber what you guys really feel will be the most successful way to get businesses rolling downtown?
I can answer that partially. In my opinion, it's sort of a chamber of commerce is what I would call the voice of business, in the sense that they represent business. They represent business. They're the advocate for the businesses of who are their members, and if they're downtown or elsewhere. So from that, it's that feedback piece that we're talking about. A chamber of commerce would be part of that voice and giving us feedback on a regular basis of what they need to see for their businesses.
And the only thing I can add to that would be is that I think it's critically important we get the feedback from all the commercial industrial business owners as to what assistance they need, because we can't be throwing darts at a dartboard and guessing. Once we, you know, maybe we can't deliver all the stuff, but if there's common themes, I think we need to see those as hot buttons. And, you know, is accessibility downtown an issue? For sure it is, but how much of an issue is it for businesses to partner with us maybe and fix the problem? Or do we need to take it whole on ourselves? I mean, these are big issues, but we need to work at it together with a common goal. But it needs to be driven by
Samantha, did you have anything else?
Nope, that's good, I think, for this meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other members of the public that have a question or a comment?
Lindsay, it's Brian again. Just a quick one.
Yep. Go ahead, Brian.
Clint, have you put a time limit or a time horizon on the plan?
No, we haven't. We would probably, I would imagine after, I'll say 3 or 4 years, we would evaluate its effectiveness and make changes as necessary. If we don't get any uptake in the first few years, well, we know either something's not right with the plan or there's something missing there. So we would, there isn't a specific time limit, but we would monitor it, I think.
All right, makes sense.
And I'll add to that. I mean, I'd like to know what you end up doing, Brian, but my vision there would be on a community action plan cycle. Coming out of a community action plan, you'd reassess your CIP to see if there's fit.
Yeah, for sure. I think, Dave, that we're probably going to look at, say, a 10-year plan, because I don't think CIPs are designed to go perpetually. But I like Clint. I like what you're thinking there. That you'd have to look at it on a regular basis anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'd like to put a time limit on ours, recommend at least, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Anyone else on the line have any questions or comments? Members of the public?
Lindsay, this is John. Carol's been trying to get through, but she thinks it's muted on your end.
Okay, I'll. Carol, can you hear me, or can you talk now?
Yes, here. I can hear you now. Hello.
Thank you, John.
Go ahead,
Thank
Carol.
you. Hi, I just wanted to say, pardon?
There's a lot of background noise. I tend to mute people, so I apologize. Go ahead, Carol.
Oh, no problem. I was actually doing the dishes. I thought I was on mute. Sorry.
That's okay.
I just wanted to say that I'm really excited about this community improvement plan, but I just wanted to make a comment, sort of reiterate what everybody's been saying about the economic development officer, because what I have observed since 2003 being involved in the Dundalk Business Association, that we really need a good contact at the township to be working with us as a chamber, and the chamber needs to all stop being dysfunctional as they have been I've observed over the last 20 years. And actually everybody probably start working together. As I keep saying every time I'm interviewed for the paper, Dundalk has its best successes when people work together. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome. You can mute me now.
Does anyone else from the public have any questions? Okay, so maybe I'll, if any members of council have any questions, I'll just start. Sorry, before you start, I'll just put out Councillor Shipton. He emailed me. He couldn't be in attendance, so he apologized. So I'll just read his first, and then I'll go to you, Councillor DeBreen. So from Councillor Shipton, in this plan, it is recognized that all parties, not just the township, have a stake in Dundalk downtown revitalization. Then Clint, there's a couple questions in here. I guess it'll be for you to respond. So in response to section 4.1, the tax increment equivalent grant, the points in that section cite grants for enhancing facades, ramps, beautification, etc. When this part of the plan will be seen by many, Dundalk is quite an area that's quite specific. There are two sides of the coin. Some owners are doing their best in looking after their properties. Others, like absentee landlords, perhaps not so much. My question is, grants will be available for eligible applicants, but is it in the township's jurisdiction to also deny these grants based on past performance of building upkeep? Clint?
Okay. Is it within the township's ability to refuse it? Absolutely. If they don't come forward with a sufficient application and sufficient merit on the part of whoever is evaluating the applications, then yes, the township can refuse that. It certainly, I don't think they're going to make an issue if it's a straightforward thing, but certainly there is that possibility.
Okay, so then he added, and if so, does the township have legal footing or legislation to back the rescinding of the 25% tax reduction for empty commercial buildings?
There's certainly going to be some, it's not all going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Here's your money, now go do it. It's going to be a case of, okay, we're going to, especially if it's something in the case of a tax relief, if at the end of the day you don't improve your lands, then in 3 years' time or whatever the time limit is that's put on that agreement, you still owe all of that money at the end of the day that you've been given relief for. Plus now your business isn't worth more. So there's a downside to that too. So you could be digging yourself a deeper hole. So in that instance, it's it will be self-regulating, I guess you could say.
Okay. Then his last question, I guess, was instead of grants or sum, does a prorated or incremental tax relief program, basically to get work done on privately owned buildings, work without taxpayers' money involved?
Well, that's the tax relief one really is the one that doesn't have taxpayers' money involved other than the person paying the taxes for that particular property, because we're providing, I'll call it temporary relief now for a bigger gain later is how it works. That we're going to give you a little bit of relief now so that you can improve your property, and then once it's been improved and potentially worth more and assessed more, then at that time the township would gain the benefits of not having that money for the previous 3 years, because now it would be worth more. So for something like a facade improvement, I doubt that we would grant something like that for that, because the township wouldn't get the money back. You would have to, as part of your application process, demonstrate how you're going to increase the value of the property or building or what have you to warrant the tax relief in the short term.
Okay, thank you. So that was all from Councillor Shipton. Councillor Dobreen, you had a question?
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and to Clinton or to Dave. I just wanted to touch base on a couple of things. Thank you, Clinton, for responding to my email earlier this week. I think one of the questions that gets raised is with regard to the tax incentive, whereby someone is committed to improving their property and they get a break on that assessed value. The vacancy tax rebate is a topic that I think council is destined to have a conversation about, where you have a vacant property, you apply, you get this vacancy tax rebate, and there's no incentive for them to improve upon that property. Whereas the community improvement plan is where a vacant property is incented to get people in the door and make it a viable and improved upon property where the assessed value becomes greater. So I think there's two subjects that council, speaking for myself, I know I've raised it and we've had the conversation at budget time, and we are coming into budget time. I think I saw Dave nod and Clinton nod that we have to look at that vacancy tax rebate and how it's not really working to fill buildings. So I'll move on to that one. Rosemary had talked about the vacant storefronts, and I think, and I'm speaking because we had a conversation, I think what she was referring to is that there's some vacant windows that have been vacant for 20 years and they still have the same window dressing that was in place at the time the person left. And is there anything where perhaps a vacant landlord is not looking to uptake on the CIP? Is there anything that an economic development department or the township could do to window dress the glass just to clean it up, to make it look not so dated and abandoned?
I have seen that done. Certainly they do that here in Owen Sound, where if a business has gone out of business or left town, whatever the case may be, they put up everything from decorations to advertising for other businesses. So it's a variety of things. Sometimes you see that the brown paper, but usually if it's the brown paper, that means they're renovating inside and it's a wait and see kind of thing. But other times it's a display that advertises other aspects of the community. So that is an option. It does take a little cooperation with some of the building owners in order to do that sort of thing, but it's definitely done in other communities.
Thank you, Clinton. So to Dave, that maybe that's a conversation you have planned to have with Rosemary, just to follow up and get clarity on what she was referring to. Just I think offline.
Yeah, no, for sure. Just to respond to that a bit, though, I think it's really not a bylaw related issue as much as it's a Chamber of Commerce motivated issue that they talk to these people and try and work together. But we'll look into it for sure.
Okay. So just also, I wanted to thank the lady Wazimi, who introduced us to their organization Junction, and it's spelled JUN capital CTIAN, the not-for-profit organization that is looking for space. And I wondered through you, Dave, with the Team Town Hall permission, Samantha's permission, with Wazimi's permission, if you could facilitate an introduction, because I think they're both looking at providing that art, culture, youth engagement. If perhaps you could facilitate that introduction with their permission, obviously, if they both have your contact information. That was a thought, and I think that were all my comments, other than the ones that I sent Clinton in my email.
Thank you, Councillor Dobreen. Is there another member of council on the line that has any questions?
I had a question, Lindsay.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Question is for Clint, I guess, or maybe Dave. I noticed under 4.2.3, that is the Building and Land Improvement Grant. The maximum amount for the Building and Land Improvement Grant is $50,000 or 50% of the eligible cost, whichever is less. If we're only getting $10,000 a year from the county, somebody could apply and we'd have to put, potentially, we could put $40,000 of tax dollars money into one project, and that's the end of the program for that year. Is that the intention here, or is that a typo?
No, it's not a typo.
Okay.
But Dave did mention that we would hope that this money would be, you would be able to build upon it, where you have like some sort of endowment or something like that, where you're continually building up that fund and not just using every last penny every single year. The second thing is, I think when you look at the grants and how you're going to dole them out, you would look at them through intake windows, and you would assess a certain amount of money to each window, and then you would evaluate all the projects in that window to then give out an X amount of dollars. So just because it says 50,000 doesn't mean it's going to be that, obviously, especially if we don't have it, but it leaves room for down the road. If we build that fund, maybe that $50,000 could turn into $200,000 in additional assessment and jobs and who knows what else, right? So it's, I don't think we should be limiting ourselves necessarily too much in that regard.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. I just, yeah. I'd like to hear a little more from Dave about the endowment piece. I'm not sure I'm understanding. There was a ferocious opposition to the Community Foundation proposal from the CEO earlier this year. So I'm just wondering why all of a sudden now he's supporting it.
We can't hear you, Dave.
Well,
Dave, you might have to call in.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Oh, there he is. Oh, it didn't last.
Okay, so I'm not sure if I'm being heard or if I'm being seen, but I've turned my camera off because that's what it told me to do. You know, like, kind of goes back to the $50,000 question is, you know, if you had the money, you're going to, you know, make it available if we have those kind of sums. But my thinking of the endowment, I mean, you know, I was skeptical at the start, and Brian, you know that. But after meeting with staff and Foundation Grade Groups, there's lots of options, but, you know, this is one of them, if it could be possible.
I know.
But you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere, but this could be one of those options. But anyway, here we are. You got to start somewhere.
I agree. And let's get going. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Milne. Was there another councillor or Mayor Woodbury? Councillor Rice, any comments?
Nope, none for me. I was more interested in hearing what the others had to say from the public. So it's good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, Lindsay, it's Jason here.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to echo Brian's comments. I was kind of thinking the same thing. It's we've got this $50,000 figure there, but you know, if Grey County's giving us 10,000, we talk about improvement in windows. What are you going to put in 3 windows? Like I just, it's not enough dollars. And as far as an endowment, it's going to be a long way down the road before that builds up enough, I think. I'm all for getting downtown fixed up and roaring and ready to go, but as I always say, there's one taxpayer, and you know, capitalism is capitalism. If your business goes, it goes on your merit. And I don't really think, you know, if there's little things we can do to help them, that's fine. But we can't be there holding their business in hand. Nobody holds the Mennonites' business hand out in the country, and or the big business that fails, you know, they go under, or the little business. So I'm on the fence. I want the downtown to thrive as much as anybody, but there's one taxpayer. That's where I'll leave my comment at. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. So I guess I'll open it back up to the public just to see if there's any other additional comments, and if not, then we'll adjourn the meeting. So does any other members of the public or council have any other questions?
Lindsay?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? This is Nathan McMahon.
Yeah,
I just wanted to comment as a business owner, a couple things. So I did not meet Dave personally at my building. I did not see him, nor did I get the survey that went around. I would have definitely filled it out if I had. That's that on that comment, just for council to take note on that. And I also, having to do with the Mennonites, they do have businesses and they're very good at their businesses. They have a very far reach within their own community that majorly helps them out. Our community of Dundalk is within Dundalk and within Southgate. If we don't start reaching out with our own township, then we're going to be in the same spot for the next 20 years that we have been. The Mennonite community is very, very large, and that's my final point on that as well.
Okay, thank you, Nathan.
I'll maybe comment on the door-to-door. We went around about 3 times, and there was doors locked during COVID. I'm not sure whether yours was or not, but we did have likely about 8 businesses that we didn't get to because the doors were locked.
So with that comment too, a lot of these buildings are owned by landlords that are not in town and they're abandoned. So yes, the doors are locked on a lot of buildings.
Well, I'm not talking landlords. I'm talking businesses. There was about 3 businesses that I knocked on the doors that were locked, and they came to the door and took packages. There was about 8 businesses that were locked and I couldn't even get a response. Or there's a sign that we're moving in soon or something like that. So anyway, if you want to get that information, we can get it to you.
That would be great. As a business owner, being a landlord, that would be excellent.
Okay, is there anyone else that wanted to add a additional comment?
I just got one more, Lindsay. Jason?
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Wright.
I guess it's for Dave. Dave, when you talk about handing out these surveys and that, did we do that throughout the township, or are we talking about Dundalk again?
Nope. We went across the township. JMR Meats, Spot Restaurant, Homestead, all those kind of storefront type businesses across the community. Holstein General Store, we got them.
Okay, no, I just wondered. Thanks.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Madam Clerk?
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor DeBreen.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, Dave, do you have Nathan's contact information
Yeah,
in
well,
order to?
I was going to ask him to send me an email in the morning or
Yeah.
night or whatever.
Nathan, do you have Dave's email address?
I can get it off the township website, so that's not a problem.
Okay, so does anyone else have anything to add before we adjourn?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Samantha.
Hi. I just wanted to say, kind of piggybacking off of this dialogue and what Jason said about there's only one taxpayer and that there needs to be a lot more community buy-in. I completely agree with that. And I think that you can throw money at people, but if the right motivations aren't in place, like people win the lottery and then go bankrupt because you have the money to do something doesn't mean you're going to do the right things. I think what our community needs to focus on, even more than talking about the money, is the vision and what is the motivation and what are our goals, and really listening to the taxpayers and listening to the community groups and what they are saying. You know, it doesn't need to be a guessing game. It doesn't need to be a mystery when surveys don't come in. I feel like people have spoken a lot about what they want. And ultimately, I think the community gets discouraged and you don't get buy-in and you don't hear from people anymore if they feel that they're not being listened to. So I just think that that's something that everybody needs to remember, is that above the money, there needs to be a sense of community. There needs to be a sense of belonging and buy-in from the taxpayers to know that their opinion matters and what they envision for this community to become a thriving community, that their voice matters, that their vision matters. So I think, you know, when people take the time out of the day to respond, that you really need to listen to them. Thank you.
Thanks, Samantha. Does anyone else have anything?
I'm going to just speak to that a little bit. I think we have to be cognizant of there has to be majority support for things that we do. we have to be very careful that we spend our tax dollars wisely, because there isn't a tree growing dollars, and there isn't a waterfall just dropping the stuff on us. We have to be very cognizant of spending the dollars in the right place and making sure those dollars get value. So there's no doubt council can't make decisions for minority positions. And I think what we have to do is find a middle ground that works for the entire community, and not, there's definitely varying opinions of what we need in the community, but at the end of the day, they have to be wise investments that return on that investment and is beneficial to a wide range of people in the community. So, but we do have to have the motivation for the CIP, for the business owners to be involved and participate, send in what they want to do. If we put this document up as an approved CIP, we have to have people come to the table and utilize this. We can't drive it all. We can drive a lot, but we can't drive it all.
Okay. So unless there's any additional comments, just speak up now if you do, and if not, then I'll call for an adjournment. So I just want to thank everybody for their participation tonight, and if you wish to add additional comments, you can submit them to myself or our planner, Clinton Stredwick. Our emails are on our website, available to everybody. So thank you all for your participation, and I'll call the meeting adjourned at 8:21 p.m.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thanks, everybody.